The 2016 presidential election field is finally starting to heat up with big names like Hillary Clinton, Rand Paul, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, all declaring their bid for that seat in the Oval Office. So I have decided to give you all a rundown on many of the big names in the 2016 field, Democrat and Republican. And I will also attempt to give you an idea of who will win both parties' primaries and then who will ultimately win the 2016 presidential elections. So let's get to it, folks. All right, we will start off first with the Republicans because I want to end this video with some actual substance. Okay, the first politician we will discuss is Marco Rubio. Now, I haven't talked much about Marco Rubio much on the show, so let me go ahead and give you my opinion. Marco Rubio is a Republican U.S. Senator out of the great state of Florida, and he actually just announced very recently, just like yesterday, that he is running for president. And most of you all might remember him by the water incident when he was giving the Republican State of the Union response a couple of years ago.
In the short time that I've been here in Washington, nothing has frustrated me more than false choices like the one the president laid out tonight.
It was just so awkward, but he was still trying to look towards the camera. It was just so weird, and that's what made it extremely funny. But anyway, let's focus on Marco Rubio and his actual policies. Well, obviously, he is a Hispanic politician, and keep in mind, in the long run, that could actually get some conservative Latinos off the fence for sure. But continuing on, at first, that ethnic background seemed to, in some way, influence his ideology. At first, he wanted a more moderate immigration reform right between the Republican and Democratic proposals. However, as we get closer to the elections, he's flip-flopped completely to now being this regular old crazy Republican on this issue, advocating that we break up millions of families and simply throw out all the illegal immigrants. And he joined the rest of his Republican buddies in trashing Obama for his executive action on immigration. And Rubio has also been a major hawk on the issue of Cuba because he still wants to keep that old rackety, sour embargo with Cuba that we had for 50 years. He wants to do it all because they're communists, I know. Run for your lives. On every other issue, Marco Rubio right in line with the rest of the ultra-conservative Republican Party. You know, pamper to the rich and the huge corporations, step on the poor and the middle class in the process. Screw people and their rights to do what they want to do as long as they don't infringe on others. Screw that, so screw you gay people, screw you potheads, and screw you struggling pregnant women who want a way out. And let's go around the world wasting trillions of dollars creating chaos and ridiculous wars. And in return, I get to stay in office with the money of military contractors, which fund my campaign. A similar ideology as we move over to Jeb Bush, who has already declared that he is running for president. He is the brother of the ultra-conservative lunatic who lived in the White House several years ago, George W. Bush, and everyone wants to brand Jeb Bush as this moderate. Listen, on some issues, yes. On others, absolutely not. And this is the same guy who said a few weeks ago, abolish the federal minimum wage. And when he tried to justify it, he contradicted himself in the first sentence, said, well, we should leave it up to the states. But then somehow squeezed in there, well, we should leave it up to the private market. Smooth, Jeb. Smooth. However, this is also the same guy who has been pretty iffy on the issue of gay rights. While he has not been clear as if he supports legalizing gay marriage, the team that he has assembled for his campaign is largely pro-gay rights. And some of his comments lately have been a lot more to the left of the gay bashing we're used to with the Republicans. And Jeb Bush also has a view on immigration a lot more in line with President Obama's position rather than the Republicans. So go Jeb. Jeb Bush is also in support of Common Core, which are, for those who did not know, the new national educational standards. However, he is still a complete hawk on foreign policy, just like his brother. So terrible news for those looking to end the constant war. Economically, Jeb Bush seems to be just like his brother. Tax increases on the middle class, spend more, most of it going to the larger-than-life military, and in the end, that would leave us, just like his brother, in economic ruin. Next candidate, Rand Paul. Now, this guy, for me, is not the libertarian that many people portray him as. Just like Marco Rubio, he is now flip-flopped on certain issues as we move closer and closer to the elections. He's gone from a foreign policy position that is actually quite similar to what we have here at New Progressive Era, which is simply non-interventionism. We don't mess with you, you don't mess with us. However, in order to appease this war-crazy Republican base, he has now become quite the war hawk. He wasn't in favor of the nuclear negotiations with Iran. He was actually one of the senators to sign on to that infamous letter to Iran from the Republicans, which said we're going to screw with the negotiations and try to do whatever we can to interfere with peace. Although Rand Paul does support legalizing gay marriage, which is a true libertarian policy, then on the contrary, Rand Paul wants to make abortions illegal, except in certain cases like sexual assault and health issues. And Rand Paul is also a guy who believes medicinal marijuana should be left up to the states and believes that we should not support legalization of marijuana whatsoever, not libertarian at all. Economically, he wants the government to have a very teeny-weeny, tiny role, not many rules and regulations on those huge corporations. The economy is going to sort itself out. The market is going to self-regulate. It's all going to be fine. Unfortunately for Rand Paul, these types of economic policies have collapsed the middle class and steamrolled the poor, so this laissez-faire nonsense he's advocating for is empirically a failure. So again, he's not a bona fide libertarian, but I think he's a libertarian that's trying to be a classic conservative, and the transition that is looking quite awkward, to be honest with you. However, this guy has plenty of supporters due to this libertarian reputation he has, but he also has his appeal to the conservatives, the classic conservatives, due to all this flip-flopping that he's doing. So, listen, Rand Paul is certainly very interesting politically. We'll see how it works out for him. Ted Cruz, why even bother? If you want info on him, check out one of my videos titled Ted Cruz, Master of Ignorance is Running for President. This guy is a nut job, to say the least, an ultra-conservative nut job that presents his ideals in the most sleazy, slimy way imaginable. Now, finally, enough of the baboon party, and let's finally get into some substance. So, Democrats and independents, here we come. Starting with the woman of the hour, Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton just announced that she is running for president, and most of the Democratic base, it's going bananas. Listen, from the classic progressive standpoint, if you take a real in-depth look at as to who Hillary Clinton is policy-wise and record-wise, she's a corporatist. She's, in many issues, sold out to the establishment. But like many corporatist Democrats, she has to put on this mask of this artificial caring for the middle class, the poor. Oh, I'm just like you. Oh, I'm fighting for you in Washington. Don't you worry. But again, policy-wise, a complete sellout. She has made six-figure speeches in Wall Street, preaching this message of conciliatory, non-confrontational relationships with the big banks. And that is the wrong way to go about this. These big banks are not going to stop this greedy, economy-wrecking party unless you shut it down with some force. Not saying, well, we have to help the middle class, but we also have to pamper to Citibank, Chase, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America. No, Hillary, no. You cannot back down. And the way Hillary Clinton plans to fight the big banks is without a doubt backing down. And that's a major problem. And Hillary Clinton is also a war hawk. She supported the war in Iraq, which killed 200,000 innocent people, killed the only source of stability in the region, and essentially created the breeding ground for the likes of ISIS. She, of course, supported the Afghanistan war like the rest of the Democratic Party. And while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she helped usher in absolute chaos in Libya and lended a helping hand of complete chaos in Syria. War hawk at its best. In her campaign ad, she tried to brand herself as this woman wanting to help the middle class and struggling people. But what she needs to do in order to change the opinions of the left is to show us some actual policies, not just highlighting the issues. Because even the Republicans are highlighting the issues. The poor are struggling. The middle class is squeezed. We get it. But where we all differ are the solutions. And if she coughs up some plausible solutions to all of these problems, give me a call. But until then, I'm gunning with this guy right here, Bernie Sanders, independent senator out of Vermont. And this guy, straight up, a boss. Y'all need to know about Bernie Sanders if you're serious about this election. Now, Bernie Sanders hasn't yet declared that he is going to run for president. However, he says he's going to make his decision by the end of April. So let's listen up. Now, please, do not get thrown off by this right here. But Bernie Sanders is a self-described socialist. But, please hear me out. Bernie Sanders, policy-wise, not really a socialist, okay? He's right about in the middle of capitalism and socialism, if you take a real look at his policies economically. Bernie Sanders, a classic progressive. Help out the poor with raising the minimum wage, increasing welfare benefits, lower taxes for the middle class, the poor, raise them on the rich, making sure everybody pays their fair share, creating millions of jobs, rebuilding the infrastructure, make sure everyone has quality health care, everyone a better chance for success by free college, supplement all of this increased spending by cuts in areas that we can afford, like military health care, which would actually decrease naturally in the single-payer healthcare system I described. And there you go. Simple. Unlike Hillary Clinton, Bernie actually offers solutions. Now, the queen of the left has to be Elizabeth Warren. And I actually did a video talking about Elizabeth Warren. And like Bernie Sanders, she is the real deal. However, she has been very clear that she is not running for president. And we can all speculate as to why. For one, it takes billions of dollars to run a political campaign, a winning campaign. And when you have policies like Elizabeth Warren in favor of ordinary folks, it's hard to get billions of dollars because ordinary folks do not have billions of dollars. Huge corporations and the rich have billions of dollars. But, of course, the entire premise of our position is against the huge corporations and the poor. And two, being president is probably the most stressful job in the world. It's a huge transition from being a senator out of Massachusetts to the leader of the free world. So for now, the progressive candidate in the 2016 field is for certain Bernie Sanders. Google this guy, man, and look on his YouTube channel. He uploads his media appearances and his speeches. This guy is amazing. Check him out, man. He's the real deal. Now, I promised I would give you some idea as to who will win both primaries and then who will eventually become president. Well, on the Republican side, I'm going with Rand Paul because of how politically versatile this guy is. He can appeal to the libertarian side through what I think is a pretty false image, but he can also appeal to the classic conservatives through all of this flip-flopping that he's doing, and then he can even appeal to some moderates who like Rand Paul's stance on social issues and foreign policy. Very versatile, and I think it will help Rand Paul prevail in the end. Democratic side, this is a much easier decision. Hillary Clinton, of course. In the polls, it's not even close. She has the support of 66% of all Democrats, compared to just 4% for my guy Bernie. She needs to simply tighten her campaign. That's my advice. Just tighten around the edges. Limit the scandals and all the attacks the Republicans can launch against you are very, very limited, and she is home free. However, the reason why I like Bernie in these Democratic primaries is because of what he brings to the table. If Bernie gets a seat in those debates, he can shift the discussion to actual solutions, progressive solutions, and that is what's really going to strengthen Hillary policy-wise. And we can combine all those connections that she has with some progressive flair, and that she's going to be forced to show with Bernie in those debates, and that's a political machine that's being built right there. So boom, boom. Now, Rand Paul versus Hillary Clinton. I'm taking Hillary Clinton. As I said, with Bernie in those debates, you're creating a political machine. Hillary Clinton will be dangerous. And we could expose all of that flip-flopping Rand Paul has been able to get away with, and that's going to hurt his campaign. I see Hillary Clinton capitalizing and Hillary Clinton winning the election. Well, there you go, folks, a preview for the 2016 elections and a rundown on each candidate. I hope that you guys now have the info that you need to make an informed decision in this election. And I promise you guys, as more and more candidates declare, I'm going to keep you all informed. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button so you all can get these videos as soon as you log on in. And follow us on Twitter to join the new Progressive Era community. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening, you progressive folks out there, and keep the fight alive. Have a fantastic day, everyone.